On the night I decided to confess to my crush, I got drunk because he didn't show up. I threw myself onto Professor Bame, sobbing uncontrollably, "Woo-woo, darling, don't leave, let me take responsibility for you." The next morning, my crush brought breakfast to Professor Bame, conveniently catching me in the act of destroying evidence. In the 7th year of secretly admiring Rocky, I finally decided to confess. Considering I had backed out 78 times before, they say alcohol emboldens the hesitant, so this time I decided to bring a bottle along. I messaged Rocky, "Tonight at 7 o'clock, the usual place, you know." The night wind was a bit chilly. I grabbed the bottle, glug glug glug, burp, feeling a bit dizzy. In my drunken haze, my phone rang. Rocky replied, "Today's not convenient, how about tomorrow at noon, and I'll treat you to lunch." I wanted to say, sure, but my head was spinning, and suddenly there were 3 phones. I swayed, trying to distinguish the 3 floating phones. Rocky held me from behind. Today his voice was hoarse, deeper than I remembered. He asked me, "Why are you drinking alone?" I turned around and threw myself into his arms. "Rocky, I like you. I like you too." "Really?" My hands wandered over Rocky's back. His shoulders, are they really this broad? Man, a well-built man with a V-shaped body. Rocky held my chin and our eyes met. "Make sure you know who I am first." Fragmented memories. When I woke up again, what met my eyes was the bedroom, decorated in a very familiar style, and the sharply defined face of Professor Bame. Clutching the sheets, I recoiled, nearly rolling off the bed. Bame caught me just in time. "What are you hiding from? Didn't we agree you'd take responsibility for me?" His upper body was exposed, leaning in close, and I avoided his gaze, unsure where to look. Shivering, I pulled my hand away. "Professor Bame, about yesterday, can we just pretend it didn't happen?" He didn't say another word, pulling me close around the waist and handing me a phone to watch. It was a video from last night where I, boldly straddling him, tears streaming, desperately tore at his clothes. "Wah, darling, don't leave, let me take responsibility for you." The video ended. I mustered up the courage and asked him, "And then?" "And then you pinned me down." Quite intensely, he replied. My face burned like it could roast a sweet potato. "I'm sorry, but how did I handle you, considering your size?" Bame thought for a moment. "Perhaps you were unusually brave when drunk." "What? Don't want to take responsibility?" I was speechless. He then showed me another video on his phone. It seemed to be after the incident. Shamelessly, I hung on his neck, rubbing my face against his throat. "Darling, I love you, we'll never be apart." "Is that enough?" Bame asked. "Do you want to see the specific details?" Damn, there were specific details. I screamed and snatched the phone from him, quickly deleting the album. Good grief, he scared me. There were no specific details at all. I breathed a sigh of relief when a message popped up on Bame's phone. "Rocky, breakfast is ready. I'm coming up." Wait, Rocky, isn't he the one I secretly admire? Why is he buying breakfast for Bame? Bame is the youngest professor in the College of Science. Also, the most ruthless. In my 4 years of college, I barely scraped through 3 of his courses, especially advanced mathematics, where I had to retake the exams every year. If it weren't for Rocky helping me with exam predictions and preparations, I would have likely delayed graduation because of advanced math. However, now, the second day after graduation, there was a knock on the door. It was Rocky. He shouted from outside the door, "Hey." Me, clutching the sheets. The door opened, surprisingly unlocked. Rocky looked at the messy bed, then at me. Bame calmly introduced him, "Haley, your sister-in-law." Dark clouds covered Rocky's face. I buried myself entirely under the sheets. Through the sheets, I could sense tension in the room. Bame's deep voice seemed to contain a hint of amusement. "What's wrong? Do you two know each other?" Could she be Haley, the one you've secretly admired?" Rocky asked. "I'm sorry, Rocky," I muttered. "Once again, I'm too late," he replied in a restrained voice. I felt like I was going to explode under the sheets. I like Rocky. Why did he have to miss the day I confessed? I got drunk, mistook Bame for Rocky, and ended up sleeping with him. I saw the video. It was me who took the initiative. At most, Bame hesitated. Outside, Rocky's voice, filled with suppressed anger, came through. "Bame, is this why you had me bring breakfast? Just to show me this?" "Yes," Bame said firmly. I couldn't help but push him with the sheets covering me. "You jerk." Bame smiled at me knowingly. Rocky placed the breakfast aside, his voice clearly suppressing anger. "Haley, get dressed. I'll be in the living room waiting for you." Rocky left. Bame grabbed the blanket wrapped around me, exerting a slight force. Should I leave too? I hastily tightened the blanket. "No." "All right, I'll stay then." I said, "Don't tug on my blanket." Bame looked amusedly at me. "What about me? Should I leave?" "Yes." As soon as I spoke, he pulled the blanket with a sudden force. I desperately held onto it, barely preventing it from exposing me. Watching my nervous state, he unexpectedly lifted his hand and gently rubbed my head. "What's wrong, kid? You seem to enjoy my doing as I please. But it was you who took advantage of me last night." I felt ashamed and embarrassed, wanting to bury myself entirely under the blanket, which I actually did. "I'm sorry." He held me tightly in his arms through the blanket. "Haley, give up on him. What kind of man makes you wait for 7 years?" His grip tightened, making it hard for me to breathe. "It hurts." He let go of me finally. "You said it yourself last night, that you'd take responsibility for me." I heard his footsteps gradually move away, then the sound of the door closing. I peeked my head out from under the blanket. Finally, I could breathe a sigh of relief. Wrapped in the blanket, I started searching for clothes everywhere. None. Damn it. Professor Bane usually looks decent, but could he have some kind of secret habit? But I couldn't go out naked. I had no choice but to rummage through his wardrobe for clothes. Just as I remembered, most of his clothes were in black, white, gray, or other low-saturation cool tones, much like his demeanor in class: elegant, strict, and distant. My pink and white coat hung limply at the far left of the closet, fluffy like a little lost bunny amidst the steel and concrete. So, where did my underwear go? I couldn't exactly go commando, could I? But that was better than being pixelated from head to toe. With a deep breath, I loosened the blanket and discovered I was wearing the white dress I had carefully chosen yesterday. It was too thrilling early in the morning. I hadn't even realized I was dressed. Therefore, since I was perfectly dressed and Bame had that look of being ready to yank the blanket off me anytime, who was he doing it for? Suddenly, I realized my body felt perfectly fine. I rushed to the bed, where the white sheets were as pure as snow. Did Bame deceive me? Did we really not sleep together? I messaged Bame in confusion. When I opened my phone, I didn't know how to phrase it. Did I not sleep with you? It felt strange. Did I not sleep with you? That seemed even weirder. As I wrote and deleted, unsure how to begin the first sentence, Bame beat me to it. "After you got drunk last night, you ripped my clothes off, but didn't take off your own. I really wanted to return the favor, but my upbringing doesn't allow me to take advantage of others' vulnerability. So, I reluctantly waited for you to consent before doing so. Me? No wonder I had to take responsibility for him. Turns out, the one with the broadest shoulders and greatest sacrifice was him." I put on my coat and cautiously pushed open the bedroom door. On the sofa in the living room, Rocky and Bame sat at opposite ends. Seeing me, Rocky's Adam's apple moved hesitantly. "Haley, how are you feeling? Is there anything uncomfortable?" As he said the last 3 words, his voice dwindled into resignation, his fair fingers clenched into a tight fist, joints faintly bluish from exertion. Bame's intense gaze fixed on me. His stare made me too uneasy to respond. I quickly lowered my head and whispered to Rocky, "I'm fine." Rocky's eyelashes trembled slightly. "Bame has already told me about yesterday." I was a bit confused. If Bame had already told him, why did Rocky ask if I was feeling okay? Rocky continued sorrowfully, "Haley, I figured out that you wanted to confess to me when you went to pick out the dress. I just thought, confessions like that shouldn't be left to girls. I was planning to confess to you at noon today." "No, wait," I interrupted Rocky. "How did Professor Bane tell you?" Rocky seemed reluctant to recall that painful memory. His face turned slightly pale, and he didn't speak. Instead, Bame laughed. "I told him that you wanted to confess to him yesterday, but he didn't show up. So, you got drunk and did some embarrassing things to me. Any issues?" "No." "Then carry on." I turned to look at Rocky. He looked utterly heartbroken. Something about that conversation just didn't sit right with me, but I couldn't pinpoint what. Bame spoke the truth, didn't he? So why did it all feel a bit off? Just then, my phone rang. It was a message from my best friend Serena. "Haley, look at this." Rocky ordered a huge bouquet. The picture showed a large bouquet of roses, pink and white with silver ribbons scattered on top. "Guess who he plans to confess to?" I replied, "No need to guess. Rocky and I are together. Now, together?" I checked the time. 7 in the morning. Serena said, "There's a rumor you didn't go back to the dorm last night, and now you're with Rocky." Wow, the academic ace Rocky looks so proper. I never expected him to be like this. "Don't worry, he'll take care of you. If he doesn't, I'll knock his head off." I knew Serena must have misunderstood, but I didn't expect the misunderstanding to continue. Right after Serena's message, I received a message from Rocky's roommate Tony. Tony said, "Damn, I was wondering why Rocky didn't come back last night. Turns out he went to make up for lost youth. I'll send a car for your wedding. Wishing you both 100 years of happiness and early childbirth." I raised my head in bewilderment. Where were you last night? Rocky's lips curved into a wry smile. Meals, rooftop, setting up the confession venue for noon today. So, last night, while I was having my way with Bame in bed, Rocky was alone, lonely and toiling away, preparing the confession venue all night long. TSK. I'm such a despicable woman. Bame lounged lazily on the sofa, his upper body still bare, with the waistband of his loose pajama bottoms hanging low. His legs were crossed, and a mischievous smile played at the corner of his lips, seemingly not bothered by the events of last night. So, feeling awkward and trying to please, I said, Professor Bame, I'm really sorry about last night. He chuckled and asked me teasingly, if apologies worked, why would we need civil registries? Seeking advice humbly, I asked, then how can I earn your forgiveness? He didn't answer me. Instead, he turned to Rocky and asked, what do you think? If last night, Haley pinned me down, called me a husband, and said she would take responsibility, what would you allow her to do to choose me? Rocky's fists clenched tightly. Bame, she likes me. Yeah, I know. Whether it was a misconception, I caught a hint of faint melancholy in Bame's eyes. But the one who got pinned down by her was me. I like her more than you do. Understand? Bame's unexpected confession left me stunned. What did he mean by liking me more? Liked that I was foolish? Liked that I couldn't understand? Liked that I failed math every year? Rocky was clearly hurt by Bame's words. He stormed over to Bame, who wasn't wearing any clothes, so he couldn't grab his collar. Instead, he grabbed Bame's shoulders firmly. Please, get out of here. Bame sat on the sofa, calmly meeting Rocky's gaze. This is my house, Rocky. There's something you might have forgotten. He straightened his back, rotated his shoulders, freeing himself from Rocky's grip. Whether or not your degree certificate gets issued depends on my mood. Rocky's face turned pale. Bame gave him a professorial, benevolent smile. Now, please you, get out of here. I hurriedly held onto Rocky. If we didn't get our degree certificates, our 4 years of university would be wasted. I rubbed my stomach pitifully. Rocky, let's go. I'm hungry. Rocky's face gradually eased. After a long silence, he reluctantly smiled at me. All right. Bame's piercing gaze was fixed on me. Haley, are you going to use and abandon me? My face flushed red in embarrassment. Please don't say such things. What use and abandon? Did we even start? Bame visibly paused. Then he said nothing more. Rocky held my hand and hurriedly left the place. I told him, Serena and Tony seem to have misunderstood. They think we, then let them misunderstand. Rocky quickly interrupted me in a low voice. Then, as if he had made a big decision, he said, Haley, I can pretend that nothing happened between you and Bame. But is there a chance that we didn't even sleep? Then why did he take off all his clothes just to chat under the covers with you? We didn't really chat. Maybe we just slept. Pure sleep. Rocky chuckled at my words. Haley, if the situation were reversed, would you believe me? If this morning I were trapped by Serena on her bed and she was naked and I told you we didn't do anything, would you believe me? I wouldn't believe him. However, Rocky sighed. I haven't used cheap lies like, my mom hit me, and I told my mom she got the wrong person since I was 3 years old. He helplessly ruffled my hair. Stop making pointless denials. Haley, I love you more than you can imagine. Is that the kind of love that could accept even if I had been with someone else? I was actually moved. But Rocky would never believe me about Bame. Unless I slept with him, I could prove it to him. This thought frightened me. I was worried Rocky might have the same idea, but he seemed pure-hearted, without any such intentions. Rocky took me to breakfast and ordered the milk oatmeal porridge I liked. I decided to make one last effort. Rocky, I really didn't do anything with Professor Bame. Rocky smiled complicatedly and ruffled my hair. Haley, at noon, I plan to confess to you as originally planned. I didn't realize until I reached the top floor that Rocky had already reserved this place. Even the cafeteria lady helped us lock it up until Rocky arrived to unlock it. Colorful ribbons and balloons were scattered all over the floor. Rocky struggled amidst the mess to find a relatively clean chair and handed it to me, asking me to sit. We haven't finished setting up yet, so it's a bit chaotic. I offered to help him, and he smiled helplessly. Who sets up their own confession site? Haley, just sit here with me. Because of a hangover, my head was throbbing. I stood up again, saying, I want to go downstairs to buy water. What do you want to drink? Rocky froze in his preparations. His throat seemed to struggle to speak, and after a long pause, he asked softly, Haley, will you come back? Of course, I'm just getting some water. Rocky held my hand tightly. Haley, I like you. I blushed and struggled to pull my hand away. You've liked me for so long, why make me wait? He grabbed my hand again. I'm sorry, I was afraid of being rejected by you. Haley, do you like me? I thought carefully. If I agree now, wouldn't all this setup be in vain? He shook his head frantically. No, even if you agree now, I'll still give you the sense of ceremony you deserve. Haley, I cut him off. I like you too. A bright smile immediately lit up his face. Hurry back. I'll be waiting here. As soon as I went downstairs, I saw Bame dining in the cafeteria, surrounded by several girls chattering around him, one of whom seemed to be our department's beauty queen. I sighed involuntarily. I couldn't understand why all the campus beauties seemed brainless, always throwing themselves at the rich and handsome. What's more absurd is that they often get defeated by some very ordinary girls, and thus turn into malicious supporting characters. There are already so many sycophantic admirers. Isn't it better to be a princess adored by all? The more I thought about it, the more I felt sorry for the beauty queen, unable to hold back another heavy sigh. This sigh successfully caught Bame's attention. He lifted his eyelids and glanced at me indifferently, then turned his gaze away like he had just seen a bunch of bean sprouts in the market, calm and devoid of inner turmoil, continuing to elegantly and swiftly finish his breakfast. This was the Bame professor I remembered. Cold, elegant, unsmiling. For a moment, I felt a bit dazed. Was the person who tried to steal me from Rocky this morning really him? Just then, the beauty queen sitting next to Bame noticed me. She frowned impatiently, nudged her good friend with her elbow, and that friend immediately stood up and walked over to me. What's going on, Haley? Aren't you already bothering Rocky enough? Is Professor Bame the type you're after too? I don't know if it's an illusion. It seems like all the beautiful and wealthy girls in the world are accompanied by a lackey who enjoys bullying ordinary people. I said to her, yeah, so what? Everyone's a lapdog. Why can't I be? My blunt response shocked her. At that moment, Bame stood up with his tray. The beauty queen followed him attentively as he seemed not to notice, depositing his tray at the collection point. Then he walked up to me and bluntly asked, when is Rocky planning to confess to you? The beauty queen was stunned. Her lackey's mouth hung open in surprise, wide enough to fit a duck egg. Bame leaned down slightly, looking down at me, and whispered softly, if he confesses, will you still hold me responsible? My face flushed red. Bame professor, you weren't calling me that last night. The expressions of the beauty queen and her lackey twisted. Bame absent-mindedly tousled my hair and said lightly, kindly pass on my message to him. If he dares to confess to you, whether you accept or not, he can kiss his degree. Goodbye. Hey, it's not. I was at a loss. This professor was behaving like a gangster, utterly unreasonable. He strode away, his long legs carrying him out gracefully and swiftly. I chased after him like a chubby hamster with short legs, panting heavily, my frustration building. Bame, he finally stopped. Seizing the opportunity, I caught up to him, grabbing his hand and refusing to let go. Why are you so unreasonable? It was me who was being physical with you. Why take it out on Rocky? With one hand gripping him and the other supporting myself, I gasped for breath for a while before regaining composure. Professor Bame, there's a mastermind for every crime. Come on, what do you want? I want to vent on Rocky. Unbelievable. I threw Bame over my shoulder. Bame landed steadily on his feet, then smoothly wrapped his arms around me from behind. I caught a whiff of a faint tobacco scent from him. He said, Haley, do you really not remember me? His cliché line sent chills down my spine. Professor Bame, please, publish more SCI papers and read fewer Mary Sue romance dramas. Ignoring the stares of others, he hugged me tightly. Haley, I hate math. Playing along, I said, all right. Overbearing CEO falls in love with me, twin dragon babies take charge. Which one do you prefer? I have plenty on my plate. Spare me, and they're all yours. He chuckled with his chin resting on my shoulder. You're naughty. I glanced at the students around us, feeling a social anxiety attack coming on. Professor Bame, everyone's watching. What's there to fear? I'll take responsibility. But what about you? Are you willing to let me take responsibility for you? Just as I was about to explain to him that it wasn't a matter of whether he could take responsibility, Rocky's voice came from behind. Haley. Rocky's voice choked a bit. I hurriedly tried to break free from Bame's embrace, but he held me too tightly, refusing to let go no matter how hard I pulled. Rocky, you're late again this time. Rocky walked up to us, his face darkening. Let her go. Instead of releasing me, Bame tightened his embrace even more. Oh, just one word, dripping with sarcasm. Rocky's anger surged. His graduation certificate and degree were slipping further away from him. I shouted at him desperately, Rocky, I like you. I've liked you for 7 years. What happened with Bame Professor is just an accident. Don't act rashly. Graduation is important. I really only like you. Bame abruptly stiffened as he held my hand tightly. Then, as if he had gone mad, he squeezed me into his chest. I was almost out of breath from being squeezed, and then suddenly he completely let go. The pressure around me suddenly dropped, and I dared not look back. The faint tobacco smell on Bame suffocated me. I don't know how long it passed, but he hugged me again, and his warm breath brushed against my earlobe. He asked me, "Won't you give me a chance at all? It was me who liked you first." Rocky stared at him with bloodshot eyes, like a wolf about to hunt. I had liked him for 7 years, but had never seen such a deep-seated anger and resentment in his eyes. I struggled to break free from Bame's grip. "Professor Bame, please restrain yourself. Don't ruin your reputation." Unlike before, this time, I easily broke free. Bame chuckled lightly, his laughter trembling slightly. "Haley, I'm not fond of being a professor. What use is there in preserving my reputation? He helped you study. You must be touched, gentle, caring, humble. You like this kind of man." "I can't." "Then why didn't you tell me earlier that you liked the study tyrant?" "You don't really like the study tyrant. You just like him, you like Rocky." Memories of what had long passed began to wildly grow in my mind. Bame stood behind me, cradling my face in his hands. He ground his jaw against the top of my head through gritted teeth. "Is it just a matter of taking a piece of candy from you? Why treat me like this? Your 7 years are 7 years. What are my 10 years? Study tyrant. 10 years. Candy." The sparse clues painfully pointed to a long-ignored memory. It had been too long. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't remember. I just vaguely remembered, 10 years ago, when I didn't even know Rocky. Professor Bame's dignified mask instantly shattered into pieces, the undeniable ferocity seeping through, echoing someone from my memory. But I couldn't remember. That's as far as it goes. Rocky grabbed my wrist and pulled me away from Bame's embrace. "She likes me, can't you hear?" Rocky's earlobes reddened slightly, whether out of anger or shyness. He shielded me behind him, just like he did when we first met 7 years ago, looking up at the man in front of him with a mixture of timidity and determination. "Stop teasing her." The tide of memories burst through the dam of time, and the blurry face from my memory began to clarify. I peeked out from behind Rocky, and indeed, Bame's profound features matched the person in my memory. But I couldn't understand. Wasn't that person terrible at academics? If they were really the same person, why did he end up becoming our professor while still in school? Rocky? That name finally broke free from the mound of memories. Bame raised his lips slightly at me. "You don't remember me?" My world collapsed in an instant. "I don't understand. You're only a few years older than him, right? Didn't you even repeat a grade?" "You, Haley." Rocky interrupted me, sounding a bit annoyed. "Give Professor Bame some face. After all, he's still my brother." My confession with Rocky was completely disrupted. The hastily prepared backdrop was like our relationship with Rocky, unprepared and hastily thrown into the trash can. Bame quietly resigned from his job, causing a sensation in the Science Academy. According to Serena, his resignation letter only had one sentence: "Heartbroken. Going home to drink." The school leaders went crazy. A 30-year-old professor, what does this imply? It means either he is extremely talented, or there are complex behind-the-scenes dealings. If both are true, he's like the Jade Emperor's son descending to Earth. But in the hearts of the school leaders, this divine son now has some emotional issues. He's heartbroken, planning to resign and go home to drink. So they lined up in exaggerated queues in front of Bame's office, but Bame never appeared again. Even his resignation letter was sent by Postal Express. As Serena recounted these events, Rocky sat at the other end of the dining table. He nervously stared at me, and to reassure him, I gently held his hand. Serena sighed. Who would have thought Professor Bame is actually a romantic at heart? I heard he entered the International Science Olympiad program and started publishing top-tier journals in his second year of college. They say he was quite unruly in his younger days, but then suddenly threw himself into mathematics like he was possessed. That's intense, studying mathematics. I can't even understand the example problems in the textbooks. I asked her, "Where did you hear all this?" Serena sighed again. After your incident, they even dug up scandals about his birth mother's private life. Our school's anonymous forum even has people saying, trashiness is genetic, his mom likes to ruin relationships, and so does he, not sparing even his own brother. Haley, you surely must know something about this? Of course, I couldn't possibly be completely unaware. I've known about the rotten stories from Rocky's family since I was very young. That's why I think Rocky is so special. His dad plays around in the entertainment industry, his mom and ex-wife fight every day, and his brother is a troublemaker causing problems everywhere. In such a terrible environment, how did they raise him to be such a pure and gentle young man? Serena leaned on the table, stretching her body. I'm really curious, how did Professor Bame suddenly fall in love with mathematics? A complex emotion gripped my heart. If I remember correctly, he should have confessed to me when I was younger. Back then, I said, your grades are too low. I like top students. At that time, the school was obsessed with teacher-student romances in fantasy novels. Perhaps that's how he gradually transformed from Rocky into Professor Bame. Rocky suddenly interrupted Serena's gossip in a soft voice. He said, Haley, could you go back and get my headphones for me? Serena looked a bit awkward. Really, Rocky? You want Haley to go back? Is it okay for us to be alone together? Rocky furrowed his brows slightly and gave her a fleeting stern look, an expression rare on his face. Serena hesitated for a moment, with a hint of panic and fleeting sadness in her eyes. I said, it's okay, I trust you. You're my best friend. Serena waved her hands repeatedly. No, 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 I'll go get them. We have the same model of headphones, so it's okay to mix them up. Why did they have the same model? I didn't dare to delve into it. I returned to the dormitory and found the headphones Rocky had left with me. After much hesitation, I finally tapped into Bame's chat box on WeChat. Our chat history was still from that morning. He said, after you got drunk yesterday, you tore my clothes but didn't take off your own. I actually wanted to tear yours off in return, but the education I received doesn't allow me to take advantage of others. So, I can only reluctantly wait until you agree before doing so. I hadn't replied all this time, mainly because I didn't know how to reply. I clicked on his moments, but there were no updates, as if nothing had happened, or as if this account had been abandoned. After much hesitation, I finally typed out 4 words. Are you okay now? Before sending it, the image of Rocky's firm and sorrowful expression floated in my mind. Haley, I can pretend that nothing happened between you and Bame. I love you more than you imagine. I left those 4 words in the chat box, hesitated for a long time, but still didn't send them. When I returned with the headphones, Serena was crying, covering her face. Rocky had his back to me, speaking in his usual gentle tone, but with determination. I know you like me, but you know very well that I love Haley deeply. Serena sobbed as she rubbed her eyes. I know, that's why I've been holding back. But that night, someone saw Professor Bame carrying her back, and she was holding onto his neck, calling him husband. What should I do then? Should I investigate? Would that help? Rocky sighed softly. Serena, I know you've waited for me for many years. My answer remains the same. I'm sorry for disappointing your love. Don't be foolish anymore. You won't wait for me. I brought up Bame's chat box again and started deleting. Are you okay now? As I deleted the last word, a strong smell of alcohol hit me. I'm not okay. Do you feel sorry for me? I turned around and saw Bame standing beside me against the light. He slightly bent down, looking down at me from a higher vantage point, with a hint of stubble on his face, appearing tired and dispirited. Instinctively, I stepped back, leaning against the wall. He casually extended a hand to lean against the wall, enveloping me in his aura of smoke and alcohol. This was the real him, completely different from Rocky's scholarly demeanor. I instinctively placed my hand against his chest. Through his clothes, the warmth of his fingertips pulled me back to that drunken night. Bame asked in a low voice, "You're with Rocky now. Are you happy?" Seeing that I didn't immediately respond, he used his fingertip to twirl a strand of my hair, saying, "Why are you pushing against me like this? You slept in my arms before. You sleep so peacefully. Maybe I'm not as unreliable as you imagine?" I struggled to free myself from his grasp, saying, "You're drunk." "Yeah." Unexpectedly, he actually admitted it. I stared at him in astonishment. He glanced up at me, a faint smirk playing on his lips. In that moment, I realized how much they resembled each other as brothers. There was also a hint of the same gentle and clear demeanor about him. "Haley, goodbye," Bame said hoarsely, looking somewhat unsteady. Instinctively, I reached out and steadied him with a touch. A mischievous smile played across his face. "When we meet again, I'll win you back." Like an electric shock, I withdrew my hand. He smiled contentedly at me and walked away without looking back. Rocky heard the noise and ran over, but Bame was already wearing a mask and walking far away. I turned to look at Serena, who smiled brightly at me as if there were no traces of tears in the corners of her eyes. "What did he say to you?" Rocky held my hand in his palm. I summed up vaguely. "He came to say goodbye to me." "And you? What did you talk about with Serena?" He lied openly. "Just some mundane stuff." Serena smiled awkwardly at me. "Haley, I'm going back to tidy up the dorm." Pretending not to know anything, I asked, "Is your contact lens uncomfortable? Your eyes look a bit red." "Oh, really? Then I'll hurry back to change it." Serena hurried away like she was escaping. Rocky took out his phone and guided my finger to set up the fingerprint unlock. "From now on, my phone will be with you." I don't believe there isn't a girl in this world who can survive not checking her boyfriend's phone. Just then, his WeChat pinged. The sender was Bame. He said to Rocky, "Haley seems to really like you. I've seriously considered it. If I can't exclusively win her favor, reluctantly sharing a life together might not be a bad idea. What do you think, my dear little brother?"